Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, another month has passed and another meta tier list is here to guide you. And although I know I've been advocating a lot lately for new game modes and new challenges for tier 4s only, we speculated with the Mystique sneak peek, with the Cyclops no uniform tier 4, we don't have any of that yet. So what you're seeing in the meta and what you're feeling is a filtering and sort of a slimming down of the best characters, because this is the result of having nowhere to really push the meta. Although characters being released these days do have advantages or do have sort of new heights to be pushed, it's still within this very limited framework and limited range of game modes. And so because of that, the left side is going to shrink and the right side, the right side is going to get bigger. It's basically like a triangle where one side is the tip of the spear and the other side is sort of where all the crap goes that nobody wants to use. And until there's new game modes to basically differentiate characters more but by a wider margin, that tip won't really increase, and we won't be able to have as many characters over here on the left side in meta gods and meta dominating. Just sort of as a start off to the video, explaining why this tier list looks the way it looks and why we'll continue to do so until the devs sort of address this problem. Now, we do have a few, what do you call them, spring cleaning or maintenance things to get to. I moved Rogue into meta dominating from the top of meta gods due to her outstanding performance as a farming character. I know not everybody values farming, but I do, and I think that a lot of players value it. It's unfortunate that the only two characters in meta dominating for the speed type are both seasonal uniforms. I can absolutely commiserate with you on that. Same thing almost goes for the universals if it weren't for Jean. But yeah, it is what it is, unfortunately. But yeah, her value for farming is just insane. She's best for ABL. She's rock solid for World Boss Legend GBR. And the best part is she does all of that with the Judgment. Obviously, she can have some acceleration in certain game modes with a Rage, but she performs exceedingly well with a Judgment. So that does actually give her a little bit of flexibility over a Luna, who doesn't do as well with both CTPs. There's more of a starker contrast there for her. So that's that. Black Panther also gets bumped up a little bit with the sort of continued dominance in categories that he was already best for. And I just felt like he was doing more for people these days than Namor and Hulk, particularly Hulk in PvP is not really doing too much. I swapped Doctor Strange and Star-Lord's places just because that's the way that I felt, with Doctor Strange just being a tankier version of Star-Lord. Doesn't have the competition for things like Alien, ABL, but realistically, Star-Lord doesn't compete with Odin anyways. I also moved Storm down a bit because of Rogue's sort of emergence and dominance there. I also moved Green Goblin all the way back, as you'll see, because of the emergence of Mystique. So I'm sort of anticipating Green Goblin won't be as useful. He's still an amazing lead, still an amazing support, but as an actual damage dealer, not so much. Sharon also gets bumped out of meta gods. Again, this is more to do with the sharpening and the sort of filtering and the shrinking of what we can call meta, because there's just not that many game modes anymore, right? Titania also gets bumped to a lead support only, as it does Groot, because of characters coming in like Hope Summers. Hope Summers also kills Nebula completely, so she drops out of meta god or meta-ish to basically borderline. I also moved Shang-Chi and Toxin to borderline along with Domino, and then we added a bunch of new characters to the needs rework category that I don't usually show during the majority of the tier list breakdown. So Omega Red, Cull Obsidian, Juggernaut, Punisher, Rescue, Weapon Hex, Icarus, Blue Marvel, Iron Hammer, MODOK. In my opinion, they're all essentially out of the meta. Now, with that out of the way, let's talk about what we got that was new. We got Cyclops tier 4. He's not going anywhere. He got no upgrade. He is still just a lead support. Some people will try to tell you otherwise. They're smoking some harsh copium. Yeah, Cyclops is just, he cannot compete with any of these characters here. You know, you could argue, oh, he has more PvE value than Cersei or Emma. Yes, but you would never tier 4 Cyclops for that. You know, you could just level 80 Professor X and get the same value, or Iron Man, or, you know, Cable. There's so many better options than Cyclops, both offensively and defensively. And then, of course, he brings nothing to the table PvP-wise, whereas Cersei, Emma Frost still do. Blue Dragon does, etc., etc. So yeah, Cyclops ain't going anywhere. He's sort of stuck there. We also got Meline Prior. She's a bit of an issue because she also got a tier 4. So if I had done the tier list before she got the tier 4, obviously her value was going to shift. She is only a PvP character, so I don't want to overstate her value. So for the time being, I am going to put her at the bottom of gods. I do think she's a great PvP character, and I think time will tell, and time will showcase this, but I do not want to overreact and put her in meta dominating just because she may be now in the top 3 for PvP. That's obviously amazing if she is in the top 3 for PvP, along with Jean Grey and Adam Warlock, obviously bumping Wolverine because she has type advantage and the same artifact, but at the same time, she's still just a PvP character, right? She's not really competing or making any waves for PvE content, and frankly, there isn't a lot of content for her to make waves in because of the fact that we just don't have that many game modes, right? So, yeah, if there was a PvE game mode that stressed survivability, maybe she would dominate that, but we don't have that sort of thing, so it doesn't really matter. In any event, Meline Prior is very good, whether you get her at tier 3 or tier 4. Very expensive, mind you, but yes, very good for PvP. It gets even better with the artifact, but actually can work without it, even though I did give her the needs maxed build icon. So just keep that in mind. She can actually work without the artifact, but she's, you know, exponentially better with it. So if you're planning on taking her all the way, then just know, you know, you're going to use your tokens this month to get her artifact from the selector, or next month, or the month after that. Just have a plan in mind so you can snag that to really let her reach her full potential, even if you're just going to keep her at tier 380. But yeah, definitely a very strong character for PvP content, whether that's Timeline Battle, Otherworld Battle, Alliance Tournament, Alliance Conquest. She's basically doing it all there. Rachel Summers, the other PvP addition from this update, from this main update, this main Epic Quest update, I would say pretty good. Suffers from essentially the same issues as Madeline, where she needs the artifact to shine, but much more so. So for Rachel, I wouldn't even bother getting her artifact or getting her uniform unless you have her artifact. It really is that serious for her. Because of that, I wouldn't put Rachel any higher than the bottom of meta-ish. And I'll actually wait and see. It's likely that she's better than Cersei, but she essentially functions and does the same role as Cersei, where she, you know, bombs you with her awakening skill, you kill her, then she revives and she bombs you again with her awakening skill. It's the exact same strategy that you're employing with Cersei. It's just hopefully because she's, you know, being released 2 years later, 2 years after Cersei, you know, she's better, right? But we haven't seen that really to an extent yet, combined with the fact that Cersei does have the support buff for all Eternals. So she buffs Gilgamesh, she buffs Icarus, Athena, Makari, etc. So she does give a little bit more flexibility than Rachel. And so because of that, you sort of have to wait and see. And again, I don't want to overstate the value of characters, especially when you need their artifact to really have them excel. And I haven't been able to do enough testing myself to excel them. So I'd rather underestimate them and then see where the meta takes them from there. But honestly, in PvP, I haven't seen any Rachels yet. So it may just be an issue for things like Alliance Conquest and Otherworld Battle. She may not even really be a serious contender for something like Timeline Battle, which, to be fair, Cersei wasn't. Actually, she was. She was very good for Timeline Battle when she came out. So yeah, we'll have to wait and see with Rachel. I'm not expecting like huge things, but I'm also expecting her to not drop any lower than this. So if that value is impressive to you or you know, good enough for you, then consider her a character to build. But keep in mind, you must get the artifact. And then we have Havoc and Exodus, the two other characters here. Exodus doesn't get anything, but he does have a support passive. He does have access to a support artifact, and he does have a leadership. So he does fill out all of the checks for being a lead/support. However, he is tier 2 only. However, we do have characters like Phyla-Vell and Nova, Richard Rider, who are also tier 2 only here. So because of that, I think he deserves to be here at the bottom with characters like Null and Phyla-Vell. It only makes sense. If he were to get his tier 3, he could certainly compete a little bit higher. Maybe he would be meta-ish for PvP, for Otherworld Battle. We'll have to wait and see. But I can't really take him very seriously at tier 2 only. His rotation, you know, only has about 50-55 hits, so he's got no threat of being a PvE god for any content, even at tier 3, unless his tier 3 is like insane, like Hella's tier 3. And so yeah, for the time being, he's relegated to this zone. And frankly, if you don't have his artifact, he's probably just straight up out of the meta. I don't think his support buff is enough because it's essentially just the same as Strife or Wasps. And as a tier 2, Wasp probably does more damage. As a tier 3, certainly Strife does more damage than Exodus. So in that case, he's already outdated, which is kind of sad to say about new characters, but that's kind of been the issue lately with Marvel Future Fight, where they do not know how to release new characters and to have them sort of be balanced with the existing characters. So yeah, that's just an unfortunate result of the game's current development cycle. and its sort of decision making. And then we have Havoc. Havoc, again, I'd say, like, I think is really good for a tier 3, but in terms of being in the meta, he's not. He's not. I think he deserves to be squarely at the top of borderline. And again, it depends on what game mode you really want him for. I think overall, he'll probably bring more value to your roster overall than someone like a Spectrum or a Mephisto. But of course, if you're leaning towards PvP, then yeah, Spectrum and Mephisto are going to do probably a bit more for you than Havoc can. But keep in mind, he also does have access to iframe ignore, which Spectrum doesn't. So yeah, again, to say that a new character released as the main character of an Epic Quest is weaker or just a slightly stronger than a side character from an MCU update 3 months ago, it's depressing, absolutely. Unfortunately, I don't make the rules. I just interpret what they're giving us, and this is the best interpretation I have. Like, I can't really justify Havoc being better than these characters, right? As out of the meta, for top tier PvP metas as Emma is, she's very useful as a sort of second tier of PvP characters, right? She's very, very strong. Sure, she needs the artifact to really shine, but she becomes an immediate threat. She has iframe ignore, she has counterattack, she has lots of healing, she has lots of crowd control, right? And she's a decent damage dealing character. That's the other thing. You got to remember, Havoc is trapped at tier 3 like Emma, like these other characters, so not Professor X. So yeah, I think that's squarely where he deserves to go. Hope Summers, on the other hand, quite good. Yes, very, very strong for ABX. We know it's only 1 day every 2 weeks, so again, I don't want to overstate her value here, but she certainly disrupts the existing combat female meta and will probably remain the queen of the combat female hero day for the time being, especially since she is a deluxe pack character costing 7,700 crystals. It would be probably boycott inducing if they were to release a new combat female hero next month, like, I don't know, tier 4 combat uniform Echo. No, they wouldn't do that, would they? Hopefully not, but we'll have to wait and see. For the time being, though, she's very good. Keep in mind, she also has a mutant support artifact, and she has a leadership. The self-buffing leadership is only 30%. It gives an extra 40% to Cable for a total of 70, but you're never going to use her with Cable. You're never going to use her lead for Cable, so it doesn't really matter. But yeah, self-buffing lead is great. Team buffing artifact, giving her support access, is awesome. And then, yeah, the fact that she's super easy to play, and she dunks Nebula and dunks, you know, America Chavez, She-Hulk and Titania for, for score and for damage in ABX, means that she certainly has some value for rosters that care about that sort of thing. And then finally, Mystique, very much in the same vein as Hope Summers. She takes the top role now for her respective day. Now, it's just 1 day of ABX, exactly like Hope Summers, except instead of being combat female hero or combat female, it is speed villain. But she does disrupt the incumbent here, Green Goblin. Green Goblin obviously has a lot more value than Nebula, but yeah, she does disrupt that. I don't know about putting her, like, I guess putting her in Meta Gods makes sense because she also has some value for other content. Not that much, but for the time being, I haven't seen her performance in World Boss Ultimate. I haven't seen her performance in GBR. I assume she doesn't have any value for PvP, with nothing really to show for it besides possibly a bit on the tier 4 with invisibility and then the 30% damage reduction. However, when I tested her, even at level 70, for like a low stage of Mephisto, I think it was 44, she took a lot of damage. So I don't really know how much that 30% damage reduction is going to help when her stats, her HP and her defense stats are so low. That being said, you're not getting Mystique for PvP. You're getting her for the support buff, obviously, and you're building her up for ABX. If you're doing so, then yes, she's the best now. She may have a very awkward rotation. People are still sort of figuring things out. From what I've seen, it's still pretty brutal. So keep that in mind. She is difficult to play. I do not have an indicator for that here, but I do like to indicate when characters are easy to play, like Black Panther, like Hope Summers, etc. So I also have to notice and call out when characters, in my opinion, are not easy to play. And like Dr. Octopus, I would say Mystique is not easy to play, where Dr. Octopus requires a lot of fast reflexes to press a lot of buttons very quickly and repeatedly. Mystique seems just like, she seems to have a very awkward rotation where it's not smooth, and you have to press skills in sort of an awkward order, and you're going back and spamming different skills in between, so your rotation doesn't read, it doesn't read sequentially like 2 3 4 5 2 3 4 5. It reads like 2 3 4 5 2 1 2 3 2 5 4. Like, it becomes very muddied. And it also seems almost like a spam rotation, but not as good and as easy as a Magneto spam rotation would be. Those are the ones I hate the most, so I have a bit of personal bias here. Keep that in mind. If you have like a super simple rotation for Mystique that works, hey, hit me up in the comments. We'll signal boost that and maybe move her up a little bit. But for the time being, I feel comfortable putting her here alongside Miles Morales. Miles Morales, keep in mind, a god, an ultra god for World Boss and GBR, despite not having any value for ABX, ABL, and no support. So I do feel comfortable with where he is right now with Spider-Gwen and Spider-Man here in relation to Mystique. But yeah, that's the tier list. That's how it shakes out for the month of January. We're in the month of February. I know it's a short month, so I had to do it now. And yeah, hit me up in the comments down below. Let me know what you think of this tier list. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Take care.